So, in addition to the sort of egoistic and identity issues around boxing the art, I want to suggest also that you don't limit the tools that you're willing to use in the pursuit of the sound. Melodyne, quantizing things, compression, equalization. It just make the sound your God and sacrifice everything at its altar. And I promise you, cool things will happen in the studio. It's the simple things in life, man. Welcome to Kush After Hours. My name is Gregory Scott. Tonight, I am very excited. This is me excited. This is what it looks like. This topic is near and dear to my heart and has been for a very long time, but I've only recently articulated it like out loud to myself, to my musical partner. That was the context. So here's how this came up. Make music with my lady. Sneaky Little Devil's the name of our project. I don't know if you've ever made music with a significant other or a friend or a partner or somebody that you're really close with. Man, right? That's where the fights really happen. Like, we're married, and our fights about almost anything else are like, we fight with conflicts, disagreements, or whatnot. And we get in this studio, and it's like nuclear annihilation. And part of the process here for the both of us is, I live inside an autistic brain. So I see the world through a very autistic lens. And lots of pluses and minuses to that. For me, one of the pluses is that I feel incredibly, ridiculously, and some might say uncomfortably unprecious about any sense of self, whatever. Who I am, identity, all that. Could not fucking care less to define that or to have that have any meaning for me. Even when I talk about autism, I don't talk about being autistic. I talk about living inside an autistic brain, seeing through these filters or whatever. That's all it is. This is just this machine that I'm inhabiting, trying to make it work. Seeing the world as I do through incredibly autistic filters, living inside of an autistic brain, things come out of me that I think most would find somewhat insensitive. And the stereotypical artist, singers especially. I'm a singer, but Sarah's a singer, and that's her primary instrument, and that's primarily what she does. They have a reputation for being delicate creatures. And so I'll just say these things. And what I'm talking about in the studio is the sound that I'm hearing, right? And what she's hearing from me and what she wants to talk about is her voice, her vocals, her performance, all those things, right? And I'm like, whatever, bro. I don't know anything about that. All I know is the sound that's coming out of these speakers at me. Am I feeling what I want to feel? Am I feeling something that I want to feel? Am I feeling something I don't want to feel? Or generally, most likely, I'm not really feeling anything. And that's a huge red flag for me as a producer. I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's a sound, but I'm not feeling it. That's it. That's all I need to know. We got to try again. So for somebody who's more inclined to maybe be a little bit more normal human and take things like that personally, that can be a challenge. Here's the long walk that I'm getting to on this. About 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, we're in the studio. And this thing that I have felt forever finally came out of my mouth as an articulation. When we were talking about this, she had the mic in her hands. We were doing take after take, and the sound wasn't there for me. And she's given it her all, God bless her. She's doing everything she knows, all the tricks in her toolbox, and it's just not there. I'm wanting something new and something different for this song. And then finally she's just like, I don't know what you want from me. And without even thinking about it, I was like, I don't want anything from you. What I want is something from the sound. I want to feel a certain thing from the sound. And then I realized, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I keep talking about what's coming out of these speakers, And you think I'm talking about you. I was like, oh, fuck. You're not alone on this. There's no way you're alone on this. I bet probably most artists think and feel this way when they're working on their art and their music and their recordings. I was like, holy crap, I got to talk about this on my show. Here's the thing, man. If you can get your head around this, I'm going to advocate for the autistic position here, which is that song, that vocal, that guitar track, that whatever it is that maybe you created or produced with your fingers or via programming or however you got it. When it's coming out of the speakers, that is not you. That is not in any way, shape, or form any kind of representation of you. Don't make it that. Don't limit it to that. Let it be whatever it needs to be. And go by feeling. If you're not feeling what's coming out of the speakers, don't take it personally. Don't beat yourself up. Try again. Just keep freaking trying and try different things. Like one of the things I will get on Sarah about the most, pray she never watches this episode, is when we're in the studio and we're working on it and we're fleshing out a part. So I'm not expecting a final take, and we're working on things. And what I'm hearing out of the speakers is kind of the same thing over and every take, giving feedback, taking notes, trying different things. And yet somehow still the same sound is coming at me. And I'm like, you're not taking any risks. You're not trying anything crazy here. Like, you got to be willing to fall on your face and look and sound like a freaking idiot. And often you will. You should hear some of my early takes on tracks that I've released. Like, they're horrendous. Some of it is just plain stupid. I'm listening to them like, well, I don't know what the frick I was going for there, but that doesn't work. And then that's it. End of analysis. On to the next take, right? And if you don't hear anything that you feel, try again. Try something different. Go for crazy things. If you're a singer, go out of your range. Like if you're a male vocalist and you're used to being down in the baritone range, get up in the tenor range. Flip over into falsetto. Likewise, for the ladies out there, like get down into the alto space. Listen to some Karen Carpenter or some Lauryn Hill. Like whatever you got to do to tune your ears down lower or higher. Like, just get outside your comfort zone and see what sounds you can capture that come out of the speakers. And you're like, oh, well, that's something. Doesn't have to be good. I don't talk about good or bad in the studio. I never use those words. Is that any good? Is that bad? Never. Doesn't even occur to me to think that way. That's just not it. It's just feeling it or I'm not feeling it. And reasonable people can often disagree on what they are and aren't feeling. When you're in a collaborative space, I think everybody needs to feel it. And if you're not, there shouldn't be any discussion about why, because who knows why you're not feeling it. You're just not feeling it. Leave that, it's not your business. Leave that up to the gods as to why, and chemistry and some other weird mojo, right? I'm going to advocate for this because if you view your art, hell, if you even view it as your art, but like if you view it as some sort of a vehicle for self-expression, if somehow the lyrics that you write need to be true to you, you have to have some sort of integrity, right? It's got to line up or whatever. Man, I don't know. I think you put the art in a box, in a tiny little box, this thing that could be infinite. These energies and this juice that's flowing through us that could just be like, you could just spread it as far and wide as it will go. As soon as it's like in some way a mirror of yourself, it has to feel authentic. It has to be somehow accurate, or I don't know, whatever, however you frame that. I think it's good to get past that. Here's one of the main drivers behind why I'm sitting here talking about this tonight. In addition to just getting the art outside of a box, I want to talk about how this mindset of somehow you're documenting reality, you're documenting some version of you, some kind of truth or whatever. If that is limiting the tools that you use, not just your approaches to making the music, but the tools that you will use in the shaping of that music, in the generation of that music, in the production of that music. And when I say production, I mean literally starting with vapor and ending with a finished recording. Everything is the production. So one of the ways that I produce my voice now when I do voice tracks is I'll record a couple of passes, the best that I can, and then I'll go in and I will hammer it with Melodyne or Logic's Flex Pitch or whatever. And then I'll sing along with that to kind of teach myself, well, that's how that note is supposed to sound. And I'll sing along with that, and then I'll do some more takes without it. Because as a vocalist, man, I have awesome style. I have extraordinary rhythm. Like the amount of agility that I have with my voice, especially when singing softly, I can maneuver around and through grooves so fast and so tight. And part of that is just my early obsession with mid-90s rap when I was in my 20s, and going from there, like incredibly percussive, rhythmic styles, James Brown, like all these singers, huge influence on me. And also the Karen Carpenters and the Ella Fitzgeralds of the world, just being able to flow. Frank Sinatra, my gosh, Frank Sinatra, that man invented the art of lag. He's just like, if you try to sing like you think you could sing along with a Frank Sinatra song, right? Good luck. Record yourself singing along with a Frank Sinatra song. Hold the phone up here and the speaker's there and you're here, right? And then play it back and listen to where you are and where Frank is. You're ahead of him constantly, guaranteed. He was so beautifully behind the beat. Anyway, so there's that, right? Back before I really had a handle on the subdivisions and precision with my fingers and my feet on drumming, I was routinely quantizing my drums pretty aggressively, not necessarily to lock them to a grid, but just to like these errant hits that I would do where I was just like so late on the kick and so early on the snare. And again, couldn't really hear it when I was playing it. I'm a lot better at that now than I used to be. And the latest Sneaky Little Devil, we're actually going off the grid. I don't play to a metronome anymore, and I'm not quantizing anything to any kind of grid. I lay the drum tracks down, and that's our grid. And that's Princeton. I'm liking where this is going. It's very old school. There's some wild tempo fluctuations in our music. Anyway, Melodyne, quantizing things, compression, equalization. These are all tools to shape the sound coming out of the speaker. You can't really see that I have a speaker right there, so I keep pointing at the speaker. So, in addition to the sort of egoistic and identity issues around boxing the art, I want to suggest also that you don't limit the tools that you're willing to use in the pursuit of the sound. Just make the sound your God and sacrifice everything at its altar. And I promise you, cool things will happen in the studio for you. And no one in the world may ever care, but that doesn't matter. It's your art. Make the art. Let the art be everything it can be, and do not limit it for any reason. Those are my thoughts. I hope the next time you sit down to record something or produce something or mix something or rearrange something that you've got that you're not quite sure where to go with, I hope these thoughts bubble up in the back of your brain and you're like, you know what? What would happen if I wasn't a pop country artist? What would happen if I made death metal? What would happen if I screamed? What happened if I made a whisper track? What would happen if I did a baby doll voice? Whatever. Just try some shit out. See how it feels. Catch you on the flip. Gregory Scott, Kush Audio.